Is it a rat? Is it a prince? Well, yes, actually. It's a rat prince.
It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to learn the rules. Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington Show.
Welcome, one and all, to yet another exciting, sizzling 150th episode of the Andy and Rem Show, featuring the Rat Prince. And no, I'm not talking about Remington, who you can see right now. I'm referring, of course, to the actual Rat Prince miniature. So, Mr. Rem, your blinds are shut.
Aye.
150 episodes in. How are you feeling about that milestone?
150, and some of the shows were over 2 hours long, weren't they? So what's that? That's like 300 hours. That's like, I don't know how many hours are in a month, but that's like a whole month of like night and day being on live stream with you and with Age of Sigmar and other related wargaming hobby games.
It's just been a non-stop, and by non-stop, of course, I'm ignoring the stop in the middle, but it's been a totally non-stop rollercoaster ride of excitement, sizzle, spice, and succulence ever since episode 1, where we first speculated on the arrival of Age of Sigmar and the death of Warhammer Fantasy, which we'd only just started playing together on Universal Battle, and then it was gone.
I remember having a video all about round bases and me predicting that we wouldn't get round bases.
And it seems that your prophetic abilities continued well into the future, though. If we look at the segments we've put out there, including your stock market analysis.
That's definitely been a winner, at least for me. I don't know if it's a winner in terms of people liking it on the show. Get your likes in, guys. It's important, apparently. Roshi says 150 shows, and thank you, Roshi. He also says his notifications are working now. So my notification worked too, Andy. So, like, subscribe, hit the bell button, and click all, and you will receive a notification that we are about to go live.
So if you're going to annihilate the like button, or demolish the like button, or whatever people say, make sure you do it in such a way that it's only destroyed for about a week until the next episode. So no one else can benefit from your like clicking until then. We can. That's the gist of it. So,
well, Andy, last week you left us with a what the hell is that?
Yes.
And it's kind of like the Euro lottery jackpot, isn't it? Which just keeps rolling over because no one's got it. So at some point, look out for that as well.
Well, the what the hell is that, as people will have noted, is now at the end of the show during the closing, and you can then comment on the video afterwards to win. Now, last week's hasn't been won yet, so that's still open, so people can go and check that out. But the week prior to that, someone has guessed it correctly, so we're going to look at that shortly.
Oh. Well,
so last week's is still just chilling there, waiting to be correctly guessed, though.
Andy, we're looking at the moment. It looks like a very tall, thin, sort of a count figure with a cloak made of rats. He looks like how I imagine you to look in maybe 30 years' time.
You think I'd wear a cloak of rats?
I think you'd have a similar posture to him. Maybe once a witch hunter and now a warlock. How about that for a storyline?
A fallen witch hunter, fallen into the magical ways of warlock.
So what's this all about? Who's this Rat King, Andy?
Well, let's have a look. Kritza, the Rat Prince. Let's see what the Warhammer community has to say about this fella. This well-dressed fellow hails from the, and of course they give us ridiculously difficult to pronounce place names, Virgos dynasty of soul-blight vampires. As you can probably tell from his fancy attire, Kritzer was once counted among the nobility of Ulfenkarn, which you can read about in our first Cursed City Crier. Unfortunately, his attempts to secretly undermine the lord of the land led him to an ill fate, and he was horribly mauled by Radakar the Wolf. Against all odds, Kritzer escaped by heaving himself into a corpse cart and playing dead among the lifeless bodies it carried. He sustained his ravaged body by feasting upon the blood of the rats he found gnawing on the corpses stowed alongside him. Kritzer soon discovered he'd unwittingly been granted the blood kiss by his ferocious assailant and was slowly evolving into one of the soul blight. You may have noticed that the Rat Prince's fabulous, or should that be verminous, cloak and somewhat Miorine appearance. Well, it appears that his unorthodox transformation into a vampire had some unusual side effects. In addition to being accompanied by his vermin tide of rats, both living and undead, Kritzer can transform into a swarm of rodents to evade his foes. There you go, all the backstory you could possibly want on Kritzer, the Rat Prince. He's got tails dangling out of his cloak. He's got rat bodies dangling off his shoulders. Rat danglage aplenty. Thoughts?
Is it for Age of Sigmar or is it for Cursed City?
I think everything is technically for both.
Right, okay, because there's references to Radagar, who is the main bad guy in the new box set coming out, Cursed City, right? Who is like a wolf vampire kind of vibe thing, man. So is he one of the? But I believe they've already revealed all the miniatures for that game. So is he an extra miniature for Cursed City, or is he like a champion kind of character for the Soul Blight? So like the undead, skeletons are
Well,
back.
I
Plague Cart.
assume he'll just be an undead release, but you could probably use him in Cursed City as well, I imagine. If he's got a backstory tied in with the Cursed City, it would be a bit of a shame if you couldn't use him in there.
Either way, Andy, I like it. I like it a lot. What about
Good.
you?
I think it's pretty cool. I'm not sure about all aspects of it. I like the rat motif. Not sure about the boots. I think what it could have done with possibly, I don't think there's any sign of rattage at the base of the cloak front. You just see the tails dangling from there, as if there's a swarm of rats in there.
Yes, maybe he can transform himself into a rat swarm.
You saying he's
Wow.
partially transformed here?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, the other good thing about this miniature, though, it could be 40k, couldn't he? Right? You could just swap his right hand out for some sort of gun.
If you put a little
Or
pistol
eloquent
on his
pistol.
belt, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it a lot, man. I'm looking forward to this. So every Monday, every Monday they're going to be showing us a new release.
Which is pretty good
But
timing, so we can have a
yeah,
full day to digest it and then give our highly educated thoughts.
to be fair though, I think most Mondays it'll just be a different sort of Space Marine, won't it?
Yes,
It didn't say Age of Sigmar only, so
that's how things work typically, GW land. So
so
there is the Rat King.
I like it. Thumbs up from us on the Andy and Rem show.
A nibbled, kind of gnawed thumbs up. Now, before we look at some of the other spicy new stuff, I think it's time for
Remington's Millions.
Time Thor or Time 4?
there we go. Remington's Millions.
Oh,
You want to talk us through the current GW stonk situation?
yeah, it's been an atrocious 2 weeks all round, really. So I thought I'd show a little bit of positivity. You can see the dip in the middle. That was Thursday, I think, last week, or was it Friday? And yesterday, Monday, we had a little bit of a rally. Basically, the high was something like £118, and it dropped steadily down to £95 a share. And now it's sitting kind of pretty around £1 a share, so about $1. Sorry, £100, so about $130 per Games Workshop share. We're going through some traumatic times with loads of stuff, interest rates and money printing, all sorts of things going on in the economy. Who knows what's going to happen? But we all know the answer is Bitcoin.
So that's your hot tip for this year, isn't it? The red hot Remington tip is definitely Bitcoin for this year. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. How's that doing this week?
That's been doing amazingly well since Christmas. So it's had a few natural dips. Maybe I should show a graph for that next time as well. Had a few sort of natural dips where people take some profits and miners dump their Bitcoin that they've found onto the market, so things go down. But yeah, generally, there's price predictions have been pretty crazy, and big banks are all slowly getting on board with it. Would you believe it? Banks that said Bitcoin was a scam 3 years ago are now allocating big funds towards it. And in fact, Kevin O'Leary from the famous Shark Tank, which is the sort of Canadian version of Dragon's Den, has now allocated 3% of his portfolio, of his savings, let's say, into Bitcoin. Am I that crazy? You decide.
Well, people like that aren't going to just be throwing their money around and expect it to disappear, are they? Safe to say that we're going to be tracking that very carefully and seeing if Mr. Remington made the wise choice to bail out on his beloved, safe GW stock that he's been talking up all these months and plunging those funds into something else. Now, I'm going to tie this next bit into Remington's Millions as well, because let's see if I actually bring up the right image here. There we go. So this is the tabletop miniatures mass battle game Rune Wars, which a few years ago burst onto the scene, promising to be the next big thing. Lots of games vying for that position after Warhammer Fantasy went kaboom. And very nice miniatures. I don't know that much about it other than the fact that the miniatures are nice. Some of them look like they would go well in other systems, but apparently it was more of a miniature game, card game hybrid, and kind of failed to appeal to either side of the market. Kind of landed too squarely in the middle and didn't grab anyone by the unmentionables and wrench open their wallet, as it were. So, word on the street is that this game is toast and there's not going to be anything new coming out for it. It's going to be discontinued. That's what they're saying. And a lot of the retailers, having heard this, have completely slashed the prices on all the Rune Wars stock.
Now, you say slashed, Andy, but this is more than slashed. This is boulder dashed. This is crashed all the prices, like by 90%.
Yes, there are some retailers that are taking up to like 95 or 90% off Rune Wars products.
So something that was £30, I can now get it for £2.99.
Essentially, some of the things were even more than £30, and now they're £2.99. Things
So
that were
where
like
can
£35.
Where can we get a hand on these babies then?
Well,
Just type in Rune Wars and Google.
I would do that first, yes, because a lot of the retailers that are doing this, there's one notable one, which is A1 Toys, I think it's called. They were the one that got everyone's attention because somebody got my attention anyway, because on one of the Kings of War Facebook groups, someone posted that they bought like 1,000 boxes for barely any money, and then everyone else jumped in there on it. So I think other retailers have slashed the prices as well. Even their own website has got things horribly reduced as well. So if you look around, there's probably deals to be had on this stuff at the moment. So yeah, it's a dead game system, the word on the street is.
So it looks like there's two factions there, sort of like an elfish. I don't know what that is. It's a giant. It's not a caterpillar. Some sort of worm, earthworm.
It's a
Again,
giant. It's like a carrion, like maggot thing with a skeleton riding on it.
Oh, skeleton.
That's one of their nicer models, actually. I've seen a lot of people use that in their Kings of War Undead armies over the years.
Well, it's definitely worth a look at, Andy.
If you can find any of it still available, because people have been snapping it up at bargain basement prices from these places. So, go. And that is the end of
Remington's Millions.
Go. Now, it's funny because I know that Mr. Remington didn't hear any of that because of the way the software is set up for this stream. But I warned him in advance what the new little jingle was
I
going to be.
did just roll my eyes around, pretending I could hear a sound. I thought I did a decent job. Hello, Steve Evans. You all right, pal?
As he's giving us the definite thumbs up there, which I'm assuming is for the top-notch content as much as anything else. So, next. This is something we're definitely going to have a look at. So, GW sent out Sigvald the Magnificent to 6 top-tier painters, some of which we may be familiar with from the community.
Yeah.
And they painted them up at their usual standard, submitted them to GW,
Yes.
and here are the results.
Oh.
So,
Wow.
this one by Vince Venturilla, who of course is well known to the Age of Sigmar community.
And he's like a big time Slanesh fan, big time, right? So I think it's only just that he got sent one. To be fair,
And
that's pretty amazing, isn't it?
pretty tasty. And there's some close-ups of this one as well. Look at the reflection in the shield there.
What?
The reflection of the world that he's just stepped into, apparently.
It's like there's 2 birds flying in the sky and trees. That's so clever.
And that's also continued in the sword as well, by the looks of it.
That's ridiculous, man. Yeah, Prince. No, Vince, not Prince. Vince has become a true prince of painting, hasn't he? And he loves his purple and teal. Loves it.
He's definitely a painting legend. And we're going to decide which one of these is the best at the end, by the way.
Okay, all right. So, how much out of 10? I'll write these scores down.
Okay, now we can't just judge them against mortal standards because we'd give them all 10. We have to judge them by top-notch, like golden demon quality. Like, not just the quality, but also the colour scheme.
Yeah.
And artistic choices that were made. So...
Okay. Well, they might have had some time pressure to do these as well, you know? I mean, a lot of golden demon painters, they're like, yeah, I've been painting this one miniature for like 6 years. They might have only had like a week or two, which is nothing by golden demon standards.
I think we should actually rate them out of 100.
100, I like that.
Yes.
I'm going to give Vince. I haven't seen the others though, to be fair.
Well, you can always rate them lower if they're worse. And if they're better, you just leave yourself a bit of margin above this one, just in case.
I'm going to give Vince, and if he's watching this, mad respect, Vince, but I'm giving you an 86 for this. 86. I think they could be better, but I haven't seen it yet. Okay.
I'm going to give this, out of 10.
Well, out of 100, Andy?
Out of 100, a 91, I think. And the only reason it's not getting into like the upper stratosphere of the high 90s is I think the base could be a bit more exciting, actually.
Right, okay. Well, Andy has lower painting standards than me, obviously. So he's rated Vince higher and given him a 91%. Let's move on to the next contestant, shall we?
Okay, the next one is Colin Ward. Now, this one...
Ooh.
Got a bit more going on the base. Another interesting colour scheme. Now, this one, I would say, if we compare it to the previous one, the colour is a bit more on the flat side. Not quite as much ridiculous shading and highlighting going on.
This is a Golden Demon winner.
I don't know, is it?
Well, you said they gave
it to some of the world's top painters.
This is like, I don't want to offend anyone, but this is like, was this painted in like 20 minutes or something?
You're not a fan of this one?
No, look, the cloak really captures the eye. The armor color is great, but there's no. It doesn't look finished to me. The base looks great. I'll give it that. The base looks nice and neat. I'm going to give this 50. It looks half finished to me. 50%.
Let's have a look here. I don't see him saying it's not finished, so
Does it
I'm
say,
sure
like,
I'm sure you've insulted one of the world's top tier painters with your
is he like
harsh
12 years old
critique.
or something? Maybe it's just like a very young painter.
Better not be a viewer of this channel. I'm sure people are clipping that bit out of the video and sending it to him as we speak.
I haven't seen the chat. Let me check the chat. I've blown this up big, so I can really give it. I can really give it my eagle Remington eye.
So if
Velatron says, Rem, as always, being the voice of reason. Thank you, Velatron. I don't mince my words. I don't vince my words. How about that?
you don't rat prince your words.
It definitely needs more dusting. There's zero dusting going on here, zero shading going on here. It looks like it's been base coated, and that's it.
Yeah, so
Whether they printed the wrong pictures, I don't know, but it looks like a kid's toy.
yeah, so what I was saying, it just looks flat compared to the previous one. So if we were basing it,
Andy, you didn't say that. You were about to say how good it was until I told the truth.
I think you'll find the first thing I said when we got to it was the colours look flat.
I'm going to rewind that.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
really
definitely in
well.
there. So I
Alright.
like the gems. I quite like the hair, but the cloak, the armor, and the main shield color aren't really doing it. There's not enough going on there. I'm going to rate it higher than you though. So out of 100, I would give this a solid 66.
Wow. Andy is very generous in this show. So he should be, because we need the viewers to stay on our side.
I think it's a good paint job, but does it
So that's
belong? Does it
Colin.
belong in the esteemed company that it's in here? Is the question.
Well, I mean, let's have a look at the others. We could go even lower. Who
Okay,
knows?
this is by Andy Wardle. So obviously anyone named Andy is automatically a magnificent painter, as we know. So what do you think of this one? This is definitely got a lot of contrasting going on, a lot of highlighting.
Yeah, this is magnificent. It's a beautiful paint job. Look at the cloak. Is it a trick of the light, or is it in the paint job? Either way, look how smooth it is.
And we've got close-ups of this one as well. So I think the armor is the main selling point for me on this one. The gold armor, very nicely done. The shield,
really
obviously,
nice.
not as nice as Vince's shield.
Yeah, that's true.
But the armor, I really like
sword. The sword is as good, maybe slightly better than Vince's if you look very closely. I'm being super critical, ain't I can't paint this good. But if I was a judge, I'd have to give this one, Andy, 92%.
You're rating it above Vince.
I am, I'm afraid. I think Vince, to be fair, will agree with me, but Vince's shield is better. And his cloak, his elegant cloak detail was nice, but this is just so smooth. And he looks a bit more menacing, like a Dark Prince, this guy does to me.
I think I'm actually going to rate this one lower than Vince. Because even though that armor might be one of the best things that I think we've seen so far, other things aren't quite as impressive on it. For example, the shield I'm not that keen on. So I'm going to give this, it's still going to be a very high score though, I'm going to give it 87.
87, okay.
Yes.
So what we'll do, we'll add your percentage points and mine to get add them all up, and then see who got the highest.
I think at the end we can ask the audience as well, see what they think.
Yeah. What I just said there made no sense. Okay, should we move on?
Okay, next. This is by Peter Harrison. So this is obviously heavily converted, so it's no longer purely a Sigvald. This has been turned into more of a Manfred, if anything.
Sigvald, if you know the story of Sigvald, in no way would he reduce himself to looking like such.
Well, he's not done it as Sigvald, has he? He's converted it into an Age of Sigmarified giant Manfred.
It's not Sigvald then, is it? So we're supposed to be looking at Sigvald.
Yeah, but we're not rating it on its Sigvald quality. We're rating it on the overall painting quality and appearance.
Yeah, I don't
If
know.
you're disappointed by the fact
Annoyed
it's
me.
not Sigvald, then you can factor that into your score.
I'm giving this a 75.
Well, I'm going to have a look at some
75.
close-ups here.
Sorry, Peter, but you didn't. We're not doing a Manfred competition. We're doing a Sigvald. Didn't you read the brief?
Got blood dripping down his face there. I think this one is very nice, but I don't think I could rate it as highly as the two Sigvalds that I thought were excellent so far, but I would give this a very high score. I'm going to give this 83
Interesting.
because it's a top-notch Manfred.
Very interesting. Okay.
Okay, next.
Well, we'll add your scores and add mine up at the end for each person and see who's the winner out of that then.
So we'll also allow, at the end, we'll go through them all and ask the audience to pick their favourite and then give some bonus points out for that as well.
Okay.
So this one is from Richard Gray. And this one seems to have similar armour to the one that we liked up there. Who was that one? That was Andy Wardle. So the armour, very similar technique there, but much more impressive shield.
I've got to make this bigger because I need to see.
I don't think they haven't given us close-ups of this one, which I think is a disgrace. That
Very long face, hasn't he? Do you prefer him with white hair or with the blonde?
Well,
I think. Okay.
the blonde hair, it makes him look a bit more elven, perhaps, because the white is more of a chaosy kind of hair colour. You see it on. Where do you see the white hair? You'd see that on like a demonette, something like that. You'd expect to see whiter hair, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but the white hair is like.
Do they even have? Do they have?
He's
white
thousands
hair?
of years old now, isn't he? He's thousands of years old. He's come back from the dead. Perhaps it's right. He should now have white hair.
It's like
Kind of
a
like-
witch elf kind of hair.
Yeah, it's kind of like when Tom Jones suddenly stopped having black hair and went all white overnight.
Stop
You know?
dyeing it, you mean?
Yeah, it's a sort of just like a sign of you're happy with yourself, happy in the edge. I'm giving this Andy a 95%. I think it's the best one so far. So well done, Richard.
I don't know. I think I'm going to have a look back up at the first two or the first three. I like it more than. What did I give this one? One by Andy Wardle.
Andy gave it 87.
Well, I think the shield is going to propel it above that one. So I'm going to give it 90.
Giving it 90, okay. So, according to you, Vince is still in the lead
Yes.
with Richard here in second place. Whereas I've put Richard in first place and Andy in second place. But Vince is still getting a medal up till now. But what have we got now? Oh my God.
This is by Sam Lenz, who is another community legend and a good chum of Uncle Atom.
Wow. Ooh.
So look at this. And it's hard to tell, but we do have close-ups with this one. So
he's gone for non-metallic paints on the armor, I think.
I think all of these have got a lot of non-metallic metal in them. But he's also gone for a reflection on the shield, which is like a burning tower, it looks like.
Yeah, it's very clever. It's more, definitely more arty.
Yeah, it's less hyper realistic perhaps, and a bit more abstract.
Yeah, I do like that. I do like that because you can dictate the miniature more when it's more arty and abstract. When you're trying to be too realistic, you're measuring up against something real and something photographic. I think the challenge is nigh impossible. But I do like this one. I'm not sure about the blackened armor though. I
quite like the armor, but one thing I'm not sold on this is the base. I think the colour of the base is possibly too close to the rest of the model. And there's not that much going on in the base either. So do you see what I mean? It kind of looks like here's a thing and there's the other thing. The cloak is what stands out. The cloak and the hair, and then the rest of it is similar kind of tone.
I mean, the sword is a thing of beauty, isn't it? That is. Oh, it's a tough one, Andy.
Purely on the miniature, I would maybe even put this one at the top, but I think the base might drag him down a couple of points here.
No, I like the base. I don't mind the base, man. What should I give this?
I feel like this should be a regular segment where we just harshly critique painters that are just way better than us. Like football pundits.
Yeah. Sam Lenz, I am giving you, my friend. I'm giving you a 93%. So definitely an A. You know, you'd pass the course with highest honours.
This one might have my favourite hair, possibly.
Yeah, there's a lot of work done on that hair. I like that.
I think you said the colour of the armour was maybe not your favourite, and I think it doesn't do that much for me, the actual colour of the armour. The technique involved in it is obviously great, and it's not bad, but I think the base, combined with that colour, drags it down a little bit, but I'm going to still give it a high mark.
I love the beauty spot on the face there. Doesn't that look lovely?
I feel like I'm going to give this one an 89.
Andy gives Sam 89. Okay. Right.
Okay, now we're going to go through them all quick, and we're going to ask the audience to just type in the name of their favourite artist here. And then we're gonna add on a bonus point for every vote from the audience that they get. So everyone that you want to get a bonus point, drop their name in there now, and they'll get added to the tally. So there we've got Vince. There we've got Colin. There we have Andy. Peter. Richard. And Sam. So drop those names in the comments now, and we'll stick bonus points on for them.
Right. Well, I have totaled up our scores, Andy.
Okay, so we've got some votes flowing in. We've got, do you want to add these bonus points on? So we've got one for Sam.
Yes.
One for Vince. Another one for Sam.
Yep.
One for Peter.
Yep.
One more for Sam.
Yep.
And we'll give them just a little while, just a few more seconds. Anyone who's ferociously typing. One more for Vince.
Oh, yep.
Anyone else want to jump in there quick before we reveal our favourite? One more for Sam. Wow. I'm going to give 10 seconds, and then that's going to be it. Anyone who's not in before that point. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Well,
do you want to give them in reverse order?
I can tell you that first place has
Tell us
changed.
Last place. Wow. Based on the audience.
Yes, it has. But third place is Warhammer Weekly's Vince Venturella.
Oh, that's not bad going, is it? If you can paint the third best Sigvald on Earth.
Not bad at all. He looks the sort of the one that's going to do you least harm, doesn't he? Right.
Well, Sigvald is a lover and a fighter, not just a fighter.
Okay, so
who's in second?
Vince. Second place has changed simply because of the audience interference. Second place is now Richard with 185 points.
Go.
And yes, that's Richard's paint job.
Very nice
It
indeed.
looks sort of very 19th century painting, doesn't it? That the whole thing. It's like what you see in a big like painting gallery, you know? We see those Napoleonic battles. Go to the one of the big museums in Manchester or London. Yeah, this was my favourite, Andy, and it was one of your favourites, but he was
Winner.
pipped to first place by 1 point. With 186 points, the winner of the Andy and Rem painting competition is Sam.
There we go. Bum, 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 bum.
There it is. We've got a very arty community in here, and I think that maybe swung the vote. Or was it the beauty spot?
Could have been the
Possibly
beauty spot. That's got to be worth at least a couple of points, hasn't it? Look at it. It's one of those where when you zoom in, you think, how's he done that? Oh, I see. And there's like little dots strategically positioned so that when you see the full picture, your eye doesn't focus on there being a dot. You just see like the shine. Very clever. Top-notch Sigvalds all round, I think.
So, are you going to be sending them something in the post, Andy? Maybe one of your
Well,
orange painted miniature
do
for them
the
to
do the
enjoy?
world's finest painters really need anything that we could possibly give them other than the untold exposure and airtime that we've just provided to their creations?
Absolutely. Well, can't beat that.
There you go. I think that was quite a successful segment, actually, with a bit of audience participation as well. I think we could do that in the future. Not just
like that,
not just
Andy.
from GW. I think we could just put the word out to the audience to submit a specific miniature, and then rate them on the show, and maybe scare off all the patron backers by lowly rating their miniatures. Sounds like a great idea.
David Corley says, "Ask Sam onto the show. He's like the older brother of every kid in the 1980s wanted," which is probably weird because I'm certainly older. There we are. Why don't we do that, Andy? Get Sam on the show. Maybe he could give us a few tips, and maybe I could show him my latest miniature painting jobs and get his feedback.
Maybe we could teach him about dusting and the Remington finger sponge.
Absolutely. Well, that'd be good, wouldn't it? Sell my products to a top professional. Maybe that would be the launch pad into the millions.
Yes, so
Hmm.
I'll definitely get in touch, because winning a prestigious, thrown together at the last minute competition on the Andy and Rem show like this is certainly worthy of even more exposure for somebody. Now, let's move on. So, this box set. Kill Team. Now, 40k, we don't talk about it too much, but I did see that Uncle Atom put out a video on this and the outrageous price of it. So I believe he said it was around $160, I think.
It looks boring.
And you get about 10 models in it and a load of these generic little crates and doors for an obscene price, apparently. So that led me to think the price of boxes has gone mad. Not only that, but you can't even play the game with this box, you know.
What are we blaming for this, Andy? Are we blaming a world recession, or are we going to blame Brexit?
I think we're blaming the fact that they think people will pay that much for it. But you also need the rulebook on top of this. You can't just play it on its own. But apparently also, if you've been playing with the factions that are in this box, then you will actually need to get this, because it's the only place you can get the new rules for their units.
I see. Well, is this something you'll be getting, Andy?
No.
I'm going to say no as well.
Yes,
How
it's
about you in the
it's
chat?
well established that I'm not a fan of the kill team rules in general, so I certainly wouldn't be going for it. Even though I went all in and bought, I even got the Necron kill team dice and painted some Necrons, and then the first few times I played it, I just thought, you know what, these rules are not grabbing me in any favourable locations, so I think it's time to move on.
Well, the chat's going so crazy they've decided not to say anything about that.
Well, Cedus just says GW, and I think that sums up people's thoughts on this.
I see.
It's a very GW price point, let's say that. Next. So there's some new Necromunda stuff coming out, and I thought we could have a look at this guy, because to me, very Quasimodo-like.
Is this the Cawdor gang?
I think this is, let's see, Rattus Tatterskin. So what is it with everyone having rats on them at the moment?
I don't know. It's
I
not
think
really
a year or so
important.
ago, GW must have hired someone famed for their rat sculpting abilities. And they didn't want to waste that talent, so they said, okay, got 3 or 4 products in the pipeline that could do with a bit of rattage going on, so work your magic. And then there they went on their digital sculpting centre, crafting rats onto everybody's back, dangling off them. And now rats that were created have been unleashed on the world.
Yeah, decent miniature, I think. Pretty good. It's like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, isn't he?
Steve says just play Dead Zone. I think that's in response to the Kill Team comments. And yes, Dead Zone. I much prefer that. Kill Team. And Dead Zone also has rats in it. Lots of rats. There's an entire faction of rats.
Speaking of the Hunchback of Notre Dame, wouldn't he be a sort of interesting kind of a character to have in Devoted of Sigmar, right? Be kind of cool. The bell ringer. Anyway. This is old. These are old, aren't they? I've seen these before.
Well, let's see. Warlock Champion and Gangers also available today. So yeah, they're available now, so we may have seen them before.
Yeah, these look cool.
Some Warlock ladies there, by the looks of things. And next, we've got a Rumour Engine. So it doesn't look very Age of Sigmar-like, but I'll let you speculate on whether it could be something that's not 40k, the 1 in a million chance.
Well, isn't that emblem really sort of 40k Imperial? I'm not an expert, but it looks like it could be. It would be good if it was like a sort of a Cities of Sigmar kind of barber or tailor. Goes around patching people up, maybe. What do you think, Andy? It looks like someone's sort of purse suitcase.
It looks like kind of doctor's bag, doesn't it?
Yes.
So,
yes. What are they saying in the chat here? Apothecary with a snake bag and scissors. Okay. So it's Imperial then, right?
could well be. So, before we move on to the next item, so what the hell is that from a couple of weeks ago was this, which is parked unceremoniously in the middle of the screen now, because that's the new location for it, because we don't normally show it off in the middle of the show. But there you go, it was a stack of pancakes because it was on Pancake Day. And as you can see, it had something strange atop it. And someone did actually guess correctly, and I believe it was William again, as usual, who pointed out that it is, in fact, this. Dun dun. It's the top of a drum from the Dwarf Longbeards. So it took a while to get the answer, but someone got there in the end. Last week's is still open, though. So keep your eyes peeled. Get over to that video after this, maybe, and give your guesses. And there will be another one coming up at the end of this episode as well, which you can look forward to. So get your eyeballs prepared for that as well. And that is quite an eyeball intensive one, so you will have to be prepared. So, well done again to William. moving on. We already looked at that. So we've got some pictures from the Remington archives here.
Ooh, how about that? I've been collecting Mortal Realms magazines, so I've just painted a bell tower. And on top of the bell tower, I've put a priest whipping his audience into a devoted frenzy.
So you don't have a
Who-
Quasimodo up there.
No, but I think maybe painting a bell tower maybe think of Quasimodo. But look, he's got a devoted audience of a warrior priest and a witch hunter in the background. That's kind of it because of social distancing rules.
Very well put there. Well done on the part of the free people.
Yep. So there you go. What do you think? I think I've done another picture for you so you get a better view.
Well, let's have a close-up actually of this, because that Remington's pictures are very high resolution.
Look at that. Look at the detail on the little tassels there with the famous inscriptions.
What I usually
Prayers.
expect to see when zooming in on a miniature like this are random hairs and bits of dust that you didn't notice at the time. That's what usually happens.
Yeah, that of course was another of my inventions, the Remington paint pen, enabling you to inscribe on your miniatures. All this was painted in one evening. So
The whole thing.
no, not the figure on top, but the bell tower.
If we can have a look.
Oh, I need to paint that bloody chain.
There's always
Look at that.
something you'll spot that needs adding to.
Called when you do light painting, where the flame makes him his
Object source lighting.
yeah, you like that object source lighting and everything. That is.
Next, another one of Remington's pictures, surrounded by more of his miniatures, still socially distant though, which is nice. But I've noticed that Remington, not quite the Ever Chosen, but Remington the latter chosen, is a bit out of focus here.
Yeah, sorry. The camera is drawn towards the the flaming priest.
People have been demanding a 360 of Remington.
Okay.
So I think you should take some close-ups of all different angles of this miniature. People have been demanding it.
Oh, I will do.
But we get a good look at the bell tower here, with that magnificent chap next to it.
Look at that. You can't get him anymore, can you?
Looks like he's getting ready to shoot the bell. That's one way of ringing it.
Yeah, it's actually come out not too bad, really, has it? I suppose you can see where I've clipped the plastic off and not smoothed it down. But does anyone really care?
And then, what are we looking at here?
Ah, right. So I'm halfway through painting my Blood Bowl necromantic horror team. So led by Mr. Scarecrow there. Yeah. What do you think? Do you like it? I couldn't help but go for the sort of Halloween orange and black, which Games Workshop decided to do as well. So
I think
yeah.
they're very cool. It reminds me of it's reminiscent of football kits, maybe like Hull City.
It is, yeah, it is Hull City, yeah, it is. I haven't finished or Bradford City. Don't they use those?
They're similar.
Yeah, I need to finish the bases off so they all look like more like the Scarecrow one. But yeah, my first Blood Bowl team. So there. You like it?
Is this as standard, or have you done any fiddling with them?
No, I've not done any. No.
Very impressive. Are you going to play some Blood Bowl?
I would love to play any kind of game at the minute, if I'm allowed.
Owen says he likes the walking bed sheet at the back.
Yeah, nice, right? Yeah, these are cool. I've no idea how they play in the game. I just like the miniatures. I just like the Scarecrow man, to be honest. I think he's brilliant.
Now, we've also got this. This was submitted by MG on the Andy and Rome Show Discord server, which if you're not a member of, then you should be joining it immediately. So you can post your painted miniatures in there for us to analyse. That's if you're not posting them in the Facebook group. But on the Discord server, there's lots of non-stop sizzling wargaming discussion going on in there. And this, as I noticed immediately when I saw these pictures, I thought, contrast paints. It's got the hallmarks of contrast, and it shows you why they're so popular, I think. Because if a few years ago, before contrast paints came along, you wouldn't look at this and think, that's just done with a load of washes. It's got more to it than that. Contrast paints allow you to pull off that effect. I like the pink, very bold coloured intestines, especially.
Yeah, not too bad at all. I mean, I would think about the sword handle being painted different to the sort of obsidian sword itself, but that's totally up to you, you know. The slime looks very realistic, doesn't it? It's very still and calm. Yeah,
Very.
nice job, man.
It
Nice
looks
job.
very. The whole thing looks very juicy. I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, I mean, I might consider a little wash over the green skin just to sort of get the sort of detail coming out a bit more.
For my expert input, I would say maybe a little bit of precision washing around the pustules to make them stand out more.
That's just what I said.
That's not what you said.
It's pretty much what I said. Anyway, great job, man. So how did this candidate put his photo in for us experts to review? How did he do that, Andy?
On Discord.
How do you find us on Discord?
Well, you follow the link in the description.
Okay.
Got the Andy and Rem Show Discord server. Keep forgetting to put a link in the video description to my Instagram, which I'm on now because I'm with the times of 10 years ago or so. Embracing social media, posting pictures of my painted miniatures and all the delicious cakes that I've made on there as well.
Nice.
People can easily find me on there.
You may have noticed Andy has not put in my YouTube channel link.
I think you'll find it's in there somewhere.
Never in there. Let's
Sure
move
it
on.
is.
No.
So I've been painting. I've been doing a bit more work on this beastie. So it's going to take me a while, but it's getting there towards being fully base coated, which is where the magic starts to happen and the washes start to be applied and the highlights. So after that point, it starts to really come together. After the base coats, that's where the magic begins. I'm looking forward to getting to that stage and getting this hideous monstrosity finished sooner rather than later.
Let's see.
Balatron says Andy is pure gold. That sounds like a compliment to me.
Yeah,
Can't think of any other way to read it.
Oh, yeah. He's gold. It just needs to be reflected in the viewership of his videos now, doesn't it?
What do you think about the hats today, by the way?
Yeah. What is it covering up something, Andy? What's going on there?
Well, the other hat's being washed, that's all.
Have you shaved your locks?
No, definitely not. But they are out of the way behind the hat at the moment because I was painting earlier, so I don't want any kind of facial danglage going on.
See.
I'm sure we'll be back to full maximum danglage next week.
Good.
Cedar says nice progress on that giant. Hoping it won't take too much longer to finish now, and I've also ordered some more Walking Dead miniatures so I can paint some more zombies because I was finding that a lot of fun and very quick to do as well. And I want to do a tutorial on painting zombies and board game miniatures rapidly. I think that'll bring in some eyeballs. So I think it's about time to wrap this one up, folks.
All
So
right, well, been lovely, isn't it?
don't leave yet though, because this week's What the Hell Is That will be coming after we say goodbye, and then in the video comments afterwards you can leave your guesses in there. Leave as many guesses as you want. All it does is just give us more comments to drive up that engagement rating. I think that's how it works. 1 billion comments means more people then see it or something. Let's see. Owen thinks that I'm wearing an orange turban, perhaps. I can assure you that it is. This is usually my outdoor hat, actually, because it normally goes up like this. I normally have it folded up, so it's nice and warm outside.
Speaking of getting warm, first day of spring in the Gregorian calendar. Anyway, yeah, yesterday. So not much change here in the UK. Still pretty wet and
We
miserable.
did have a
dark.
few warm days, but it's drifting back in towards chilly town at the moment, though.
It is, isn't it? It's just like the something nice that's gone away. It slipped my mind. It's been so long. Anyway, things go back to normal in 2 weeks. I'm going back to work. Actually, physically driving back to work in Nottingham in 2 weeks' time. So, yeah, that's that. The end of the lockdown is starting.
The easing out of lockdown. We'll see how smoothly that goes, and hopefully it goes smoothly. And then in the next weeks and months, then things, crazy, wild things that haven't been possible for a year, like, I don't know, gaming, might be back on the menu.
I know. I've got so many armies that I want to play with, but I'm so excited. Maybe we should do some kind of a poll. So when we can get out of lockdown, Remington versus Andy, Remcon 2021. Which army shall I bring? That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
Haven't you sold them all by now?
No, I've not sold them all. I don't sell anymore.
Well, I think
Holding.
you should go onto the Discord server and put a picture of all your different armies and let people pick which one they like the best.
I can do as soon as I get some free time.
See, we're driving people towards our social media.
I like that. I like that, Andy.
Okay, so I'm going to bring up the episode thumbnail here, which of course is designed with the YouTube eyeball attraction in mind. Just the big shocked reactions, big bold text. That's how it works. That's what brings in the big numbers, apparently. So we're giving it a try, seeing if we can push this channel to the next level. And don't forget to check out all the links in the description. Don't forget to follow me on various social media platforms, join our Facebook group, Discord server, and if you want to become a patron, then you could end up being personally thanked at the end of the show, like the following people will be for pledging to the specific level that gets you a personalised thanks. But there are other bonuses as well, which you can find out if you head on over to the Patreon. So special thanks to the following people. First of all, new patron, Cedar. Special thanks to you. And also, Graham, Roshi, Tim, John, Eric, Barbara, and Guy. All of you, extra spicy, extra succulent supporters of this channel. And it is now time, the hell is that? Which will close the show. So before then, Remington, would you like to say goodbye?
Goodbye.
I will say good night out there. Whatever you polish your eyeballs. Tell us. Hell.
What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Is it a chaos dwarf or a vampire bear? Oh, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Oh, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Only Andy and Remington, Andy and Remy, Andy and Remington know. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Is it Sigvald's beard or Neferata's hat? Oh, what the hell is that? Oh, what the hell is that? Is it a mangler squig or a sorcerer's rat? Only Andy and Remington, Andy and Remy, Andy and Remington know.